This game is being played with the Balance of Power scenario from the 2014 Steamroller packet. Kill Box Artifice is not in effect, and the scenario consists of one zone and two flags. The friendly flag can be dominated, causing your opponent to lose 1 CP to a minimum of 0. The zone can be controlled for 1 CP or dominated for 2 CPs, and the enemy flag can be controlled for 1 CP or dominated for 2 CPs. Win condition consists of 5 control points or caster assassination.
Pokey here. I decided to go with Karchev the Terrible, a Demolisher, the Kodiak, the Behemoth, a max unit of Shocktroopers, a max unit of Demolisher, a unit of Greylord Ternions, the Koldun Lord, and of course one of my favorite models, the Drakhun, without dismount.
Hi everybody, this is Gaston, and I'm here today with E-Kreoss and his Theme Force Crusaders of Soul. Now you've noticed I've made a very minor change from what's normally taken, and that's taken the form of a Judicator. And as this game goes on, we're going to talk about what I feel like this adds to the list, why I chose it for this purpose, and how I think it played out. Deployment was relatively straightforward. I put Judicator on my far left flank. He's currently off the screen, but as he moves forward you'll see him. And I have him there just to anchor the army. And then to his right are going to be all of the knights basically. And then I have 2 of the Seneschal set up near him, and I actually cringed a lot when I saw my opponent pull out Karchev. I have these visions of Behemoth just smacking down my poor Judicator and killing it 1 round. So what I want to do is I want to take these Seneschals and park them in front of Judicator as sort of a protecting screen.
Okay, for my deployment, I kind of messed up a little bit because I thought he was going to do something differently. So I went ahead and took Karchev, and I still went with my original plan, which was to put Karchev kind of opposite his flag, and then put his entire battle group within 2 inches of him for tow. The thought was that I was basically going to go up and I was going to just flood his side with my warjacks. Then I started placing the the Shocktroopers next to that group, thinking, oh, I'll put them in the zone, they'll block the zone. But then I started looking at his Judicator sitting there right across from my flag, going, that's going to be painful if he actually ends up getting that thing into my zone, my flag, because I won't be able to get rid of him. So I slide the Shocktroopers down. I put the Demolition in the middle zone, so they'll be my zone defenders, I guess. The Greylord Ternions I end up placing behind, and then the Drakhun ends up getting placed up on the north end, so I can come around the corner and hopefully start going towards his flag.
My advanced deployment is nothing particularly special. I just take the Errants, I lay them out in a nice line right in front of my army, and they're just going to form my starting screen. They're going to run on forward, they're going to take all the hits. The wall is a little bit awkward there because it pushes them back, but it's not really a big deal at the end of the day. So here I'm taking my advanced move for my Theme Force benefits. This is where the wall is a little bit more annoying, as it pushed the Errant screen back, which meant that my knights could make their full 5-inch advanced move. A couple of them could only move up 4 inches. But otherwise, I love the Theme Force and I love how quickly it starts forward.
Alright, well, one of the tier bonuses is that my men of war get to do an advanced move. which means they get to make a move before the start of the game. And I went ahead and I just moved them up, because anything that helps these guys move across the field is a good thing.
So turn 1 is relatively straightforward. Everything's going to run. E-Kreoss will eventually come up here. He's going to put Synchrosect on the Errants. He's going to put Invulnerable Resolve on the Judicator. So this feeds into my whole plan of why take Judicator in the first place. And ironically, I was actually inspired by Khador lists, of all things. With a lot of the Khador lists, what you see is that they really only have one Jack buff, and they only want to take that one Jack, usually a Conquest, and just sit there and feed it. And when I was going back through, I was looking at E-Kreoss and what he does and what he doesn't do. He's a really big, well-known focus camper within Protector. He's very greedy, he likes to keep that armor, he doesn't like to hand out a lot. And usually in his Steam Force he's only running Fire Salvation, because the Choir isn't allowed anyway, and Fire Salvation is an amazing warjack. And when I'm looking at Judicator with him, I'm thinking to myself, it's already providing itself with 1 point of focus for free, so it's really lightening the focus burden on him. And then on top of that, he's got an armor buff for it, so it's sitting at armor 21. That armor buff goes very, very far with how many boxes it has. In addition to that, he has a spell called Synchrosect, which when an enemy warrior model kills one of my guys, they get knocked down. And that, I feel like, solves a lot of that Rat 1 issue that those long rockets have. So take Synchrosect, put it on the Errants, jam them in their face. If they die, they knock them down, then Judicator just wanders on up and pops it. Then the other thing that I feel like Judicator really adds here is this whole army is a giant swarm of single wound infantry. And the old adage, the old strategy with E-Kreoss is that you're going to run at them until hopefully they don't kill you. And I feel like Judicator provides a nice anchor point for the army.
Okay. In this turn, it's going to be trying to get into the zone so he can't push me out. Because with that much infantry, he'll be able to pretty much get to the other side of the zone and definitely keep me out of the zone to where it's gonna be even more of an uphill battle to clear that much infantry. At first, I was going to do the Greylord Ternions. I was going to advance them, but then I decided that if I moved the Shocktroopers first, advancing them like I did, right in front of my flag, putting them in shield wall, would allow the Greylords to actually advance more than the 4.5 inches they would have advanced normally. So they advanced up. As you can tell, the Shocktroopers moved up. They did shield wall, and now the Greylords are doing their thing of putting up the blizzard, little 3-inch circles to give them concealment. I'm hoping it helps some from both the Judicator and the Errants. They're only defense 11, so it's not like it's really that hard to hit them, but every little bit helps. If you notice, well, next the Demo Corps are going to go, and I'm going to have them run. So I put Leastways 1 in the zone to kind of help be a blocker, and the rest are just kind of hoping to not be too far back. That way, with that one body in there, hopefully he can't completely block me out of the zone this round. If you notice that one ring, that is my one ring that I can put in because of the tier bonus, I keep forgetting to take it out. I'll probably take it out here by the end of this turn, but I did forget in the beginning, so that actually doesn't take effect. That's not actually even there. Or it's there now, but it'll be gone in a minute. I activated the Drakhun, and I ran him to the top of the screen, trying to get him to go around. And now I activate Karchev, I do tow, and then I advance forward 6 inches, towing the three warjacks. No real reason to cast anything else. I did allocate 3 out to the Behemoth, who is to his subcortex, which is the only way to really get him to boost to hits and damage on his cannon. So I activate the Behemoth. I spend 1 to I forfeit his movement to gain aim bonus, and then I boost it to hit one of the Errants because they're right there. They really a good juicy target. So the guy under the hole takes a POW 14, and everybody else is going to take a POW 7. Now the one guy closest to the top of the screen, I needed him to die. I don't know why, I just felt he needed to be out of the way. So after that shot, he did his self-sacrifice thingamabob and you know, made the Knight Errant Seneschals angry because, you know, people were dying around them. So I took a second shot and I targeted somebody else that also had some people around him, and boosting damages and just trying to whittle down the Errants as much as possible. With with them, they're a ranged element, and they're a nice unit that can just come in and be in the way. They're cheap enough that it doesn't matter if they lock me out, then they're doing what they need to do. And so then the rest of my jacks end up moving, and that's my turn.
So what we're going to see here is that he moved his jacks up, took a couple shots, killed a few Errants, which is very sad, but nothing you can't really come back from. He did move one of the Shocktroopers, I believe, up a little bit close, so we're going to go ahead and take advantage of that and punish him for it. Then we're going to go ahead, load up the Judicator, and here I actually made kind of a positioning mistake, and it was really my fault for not allowing space with the Errants and the Judicator. I don't have a lot of experience with using Judicator. I'm not particularly fond of the Jack and its rules. I think it's very bland and not flavorful, so I don't take it too often. But when I take these large bases like the Vessel of Judgment or Epic Resnick, what I always like to do is deploy them on a flank, and then have them move towards the center in sort of that motion, so that way they're not gumming up your army, they're not stepping on each other's toes, and I feel like it creates a lot less issues that way with positioning. But what I did here that kind of leaks out to me as I'm going back and watching this video is Judicator actually moved outwards, and that's very much a learning mistake and a learning moment for me, because I actually want Judicator to keep moving inwards. And the way you go about fixing that is you leave a nice little gap in the Errants for Judicator to come up there, because you now have this order of activation issue where I don't want the Errants to charge in while Judicator's shooting, because, you know, I'd rather not hit my own guys. So Judicator moved to the side, he shot. I don't think he accomplished all that much, but that's okay, it's not really a big deal. So the Errants are going, they did fail a charge on the Man of War with the shield wall, but they went ahead and successfully charged a Shock Trooper. The rest of them are just running in to gum them up, and I'm going to force them to attack me and get knocked down. At which point Judicator's rockets are going to be very nice. And pop, he's dead. Go ahead, take my quick work shot, because, you know, it's there, why not? I think it did any damage. And above and beyond that, really, it's just running with the rest of the army. We're trying to do a lot of positioning, being very, very, very careful about the power slide. We do not like the power slide. Again, I just have these nightmares of Behemoth coming over and taking out my Judicator. This is the very first game I've ever played with this list, so there's that learning curve as well, and I want my nice shiny to stay alive. So we're taking the knights, we're spreading out, we're being very careful because of Behemoth's guns and the blast damage there. Also taking Seneschal towing the zone, just in case. And we're running the other Seneschals up. Then that's that nice screen again for Judicator like we were talking about earlier. After that, the knights are running up, and they're going to leave a nice little gap in the middle for Gravus, if he so chooses. The mechanics are going to continue to hug Judicator's butt, which is their grand plan for the entirety of the game. Then after that, a little bit more running. I realize it's not the world's most exciting turn, there's only so much variety I can put in with describing how models run in form of nice loose formation.
Alright, that is a lot of angry weapon masters looking across the table at me. I pull the rings up. I do the typical maintenance of the turn. Pulling up the rings, reallocate, doing a focus portion, doing all the happy stuff that you normally do in the beginning of the turn. I'm keeping tow because I'm still not where I need to be with my warjacks. so it only makes sense to upkeep the toe. I do allocate out my focus, and now it's a matter of trying to figure out how to get back into the zone and not lose, you know, either my battle group or my caster or control points, because it's that's a lot of weapon masters. The Errants did a great job of coming across the field, doing what I thought they were going to do, which was kind of slow my slow unit down some. So I activate them, they advance into shield wall. They then go ahead and start swinging on the Errants that are in their face, because, well, why not? What I didn't hear my opponent say at the beginning when he was casting it was the if I kill you, you're knocked down ability. But I committed, so I needed to do it. I needed to continue forward with it, because if I didn't, they're just going to stand there and just whittle me down. And that is not what I needed to have happen. But the Shocktroopers are in front of my flag, so hopefully that will deter anybody from actually being able to get to it to score points off of it. The Ternions, they advance, they do their little, my little cloudy thing again, because, well, that's what they're there for, mostly. I mean, they have some other abilities as well. They have range 8 spray and some other happy, fun stuff. But in the early, games like this, early turns of the game, it really does, they really are needed for being able to do, some defensive work. So the Demo Corps now activated, and I'm going to have them take the charge order, the run charge order, and the first one charged the Errant, but also engaged the he charged the Knight Exemplar, but went and engaged the Errant as well, because they do have backswing, so that allows them to make 2 attacks. And so the other one had to make his charge, and we're making sure that there was sufficient distance to get him where he needed to be, space for his base to go, and that he would actually make the 3 inches and not clip anybody else's base. Then the other one moves up, and then the final one ends up just running in. I run him up and in, basically having him replace where the other guy was standing, hoping that between the wall and being in combat he won't get shot, and that the non-reach on the Protectorate side would stop him from dying right away. But he wasn't too far away from the edge of the wall, so I'm thinking that's probably how he's going to go down. So they end up making their swings and swing at people, and they take their turns. The one guy ends up, once again with that, I forget the name of the spell, but when I kill one, I end up falling down. It's not a good, it's not a happy thing, but it's removing them. So I guess I'll deal with what I can. And if you notice, the ring moved with the one, because the Blizzard templates are set up to where they are centered on the model and not placed on the table. So that's why when he charged, he brought the cloud with him. And those that killed Errants ended up getting knocked down. And now it's to figure out if there's something else I can do to help keep myself in the zone. So I end up running the Kodiak to engage 2 of the Errants. Not the Errants. I keep calling them Errants, but they're actually Knight Exemplar. Ends up engaging 2 of them. So that's 2 less weapon master attacks that are coming in at him. The Drakhun then runs around the obstacle back there, hoping to get him around to where I can threaten his caster. maybe have him divert some of his resources from my main force and deal with the Drakhun that's coming around the back. Now, the last model I just moved up was the Koldun Lord, and he is going to do his little his little magical spray, and I'm going to end up spraying one of the Knights Exemplar, and hopefully I end up catching 2 of them. Luckily for me, it's it is 8 inches, but with the basing and the models, we couldn't quite tell, so we had to bring a 3rd person over to be the impartial judge, as it was. But we figured out that he was in, so I was able to hit 2 guys, and end up killing off the one. Didn't do anything to the other, which was a shame. I was hoping to at least kill off 2. Now it's Karchev's turn. He with toe up, he still brings his jacks over, and he is coming up, placing the jacks behind him on the back of his little skirt thingy, because that's where you tow something anyways. And he decides to do Sunder, his one ranged attack, and he targets the Seneschal. And well, actually, yeah, he targets the Seneschal because, well, I just need that guy to die, because that's a scary, scary guy. When his friendly models end up dying around him, it gets scary. So I just needed him to die, because out of all the models that were over there, I feared him getting between my 2 models and actually being able to put some damage on Karchev that turn. So I needed to make sure he died. So I did a lot to try to kill him off. Unfortunately, was not able to kill him. I do believe I put a couple points of damage on him, but I was not able to kill him. Now I'm checking my control area, and I'm casting another spell. Unfortunately, I miss, because I ended up spending so many points and everything else that I didn't leave enough to boost. But it scatters over onto the Kodiak, and it's the 3-inch AoE, stays in play. Anybody that enters it for the turn take a POW 14, and my Kodiak just barely makes it without any damage. Then the Demolisher comes around to block the lane. I did give him 1 point of focus. He did not, however, tow the zone, because I wanted him in base to base with Karchev for his girded special ability, which makes it to where any of models that are in base to base do not suffer blast damage. To me, was a much more important idea than to have him in the zone. I was too worried that the Judicator was just going to hurt me. So now I've activated the Behemoth. The Behemoth started shooting, and I'm just hoping to do some damage. And as it often goes, it often comes down to the very last dice roll of the very last weapon to end up killing off another model.
So he's killing me a little bit there with killing that Seneschal with his last attack. I was really counting on having that Seneschal there to slam his Warjack out of that cloud, so that way it'd be a lot easier to charge him. As it is, we're going to have to make do without. And that's a Jack that I definitely want to kill, because Lord knows I have no idea what the name of it is, but it explodes with these steam clouds around it that'll be quite deadly to the Knights. because what they are going to have to do is they're all just going to clump up around it and hopefully take it out of the game. And unfortunately, I don't believe that's actually attached to any system, so I don't think I can even cripple it and stop it from happening. But the nice thing is, on the other flank, my plan went quite smoothly, where pretty much all of his infantry is knocked down. It is now a nice Judicator bait, and I can allocate a 2 focus on top of what it already has, and it should hopefully have, even with Rat 1, no problems hitting them, and just start boosting those damage rolls, getting those POW 14s on those guys, and taking them out of the game with relative ease. So one of the other decisions that's kind of difficult on this turn is whether or not to pop feet. And what ended up pushing me towards doing that is, again, having this opportunity to take that one heavy out early, especially since it's one of his heavies that's very, very good at infantry clearing. And that's what will eventually push me into the idea of popping this feat, so all of my weapon masters will automatically hit, they'll get a second attack, and that'll also help me do a lot of the infantry clearing that has that one man of war who isn't knocked down. So, you know, it's nice to have that guarantee. The other thing I was trying to decide is if I could get a Seneschal with the feat onto one of his Warjacks to slam him into Karchev and maybe Behemoth and knock down the whole battle group. I mean, obviously they can all stand up, but it costs them focus, and Karchev is notoriously focus trapped to begin with. But eventually we're going to see here that I couldn't come up with a great angle for it. I also spent a lot of time this game in deep contemplation. So, here we're going to have the Seneschal. He's going to charge on in, onto one of the not knocked down guys, and he's going to go for that Chain Smite to get some more guys knocked down, make easy Judicator bait. I'm not particularly worried about blast damage, just because the Seneschal is armor 17, and the Judicator will be, dice minus 10 on him. But rather than getting the chain attack, I just go ahead and kill him. So, go Seneschal, that's great. And again, this is the first time I've played this list, so I feel like a lot of that hesitation is coming from not having that practice. And one of the things that you really try to do with tournament lists is get as much practice on them as you really can, so that way you have that muscle memory built up and it flows a lot smoother, you're not worried about the clock so much. So here we have the knights, they're kind of running around. One of them goes on to that jack, the other one goes on to a man-of-war Shocktrooper. Takes him out of the game, and then bangs up the warjack for however many damage he rolls. So E-Kreoss is just measuring his control area, trying to decide how to best feat. And what we're doing is we're sending Gravus on up. He's swinging on that Shocktrooper. Being Mat 10 on the charge is pretty freaking awesome. He'll hit him over the wall, and he'll take him out. I'm sorry, not Shocktrooper, Democorps. So all the time previously I've been saying Shocktrooper, I actually meant Democorps. The Shocktroopers are the ones over on the left. They all look alike. I don't play Khador. I'm sorry. So now we have Judicator moving on up. Again, retrospectively, I wish I'd moved him more towards the zone. The whole idea behind him is supposed to be the scenario anchor. But again, the whole idea behind him was I was still very much freaked out about Behemoth going after him. But he's just taking his rocket shots. Some decent damage rolls there. Going to town on the knockdown guys. And he's also going with the flamethrowers because knock down guys like nothing better than be lit on fire on top of being shot. And we're boosting some rocket damage. The downside is that the Demo Corps' armor is high enough to actually survive a fair amount of this. And my secondary scatters aren't getting all the way back into the Greylords there, who are putting up those rather annoying smoke clouds. And he's taking his other rocket shot onto the remaining, or I'm sorry, second to last of the Demo Corps. Mechanics are running up, continue their mission. So E-Kreoss is going, and it's going to be at this point that he decides to scoot on up to the other side of the wall and go ahead and pop feet. So I feel relatively safe that there's not a lot that can get to him. We're going to park a couple guys in front of him anyway, just to make sure. And then we're going to camp quite a fair amount of focus. Then we're going to go gangbusters on whatever the name of that jack is, with quite a bunch of Knights Exemplar. Again, we're being very careful to make sure I'm only using the ones who are going to get the charge bonus. That's why that one guy ran away. But also to go as far out on my melee range as I can, that half an inch, so I can stay outside of that damaging cloud. So there we go ahead and remove the last of the Demo Corps. Not a problem there. And we start banging on that jack. Trying to take as much advantage of that extra feet attack. If I can manage to... I've already removed a whole unit of his heavy infantry. If I can manage to remove a heavy on top of that, I feel like that'll put me way up on attrition, and that I'll greatly enjoy that. So again, putting some more of the Knights Exemplar into that Warjack. See if we can take him out of the game. A lot of Weapon Master attacks. However, he is armor 20 with 36 boxes, so it's actually a fair amount to chew through. And at the end of the day, we did not kill him. Makes me super sad. So, the Seneschal, I was kind of looking for that charge path, but I ended up just parking him directly in front of Judicator, kind of as a safety measure.
Okay, back to the maintenance part. Back to doing all the lovely things that need to be done. The one ring over the Kodiak was left accidentally. It'll be taken up here in a second, right there. I thought it was an upkeep spell, but it is not an upkeep spell. That'd be kind of awesome if it was, but it's not. So now I'm checking for fires. Unfortunately, I don't get the shield wall bonus while I am checking for fire, so yeah, you know, dice minus 5, good dice rolls, it'll kill you. Now to figure out if I'm going to upkeep toe. I do believe this is the turn I let it go, because I'm figuring, well, I'm as close as I'm going to get with all those guys sitting right there in my face. Really surprised that the Kodiak is still alive. The Kodiak should have been toast, like just dead. I think he ended up leaving with like 5 boxes, 4 or 5 boxes, and so I Decided not to upkeep Toe, because I figured, well, it's not going to serve me much of a purpose anyways. But I do need to allocate out focus, so I end up allocating 2 or 3 out to the Behemoth, because this turn is where I think I have a plan on how to turn the tides my way, but because of the fact that I forget how a Drakhun works, or a Dragoon, I'm sorry, a Dragoon works, I forget how a Dragoon works, it really kind of messes me up, and I overspend on the amount of focus that I give the Behemoth. So start off with the Demolisher. He advances. He's actually not facing the camera. He's actually facing the my opponent's board edge. It's just with his arms where they are and everything else, couldn't do too much about it. Now the Kodiak, he limps forward and vents steam. You know, because, well, that many guys that close, you might as well do one attack that pretty much hopefully kills everything. So he ends up venting steam, and I just go around and start rolling the damage on everybody. And, you know, I'm hoping I can kill off most. I think I'm killing like 1 or 2, not too many of them. But I still have the guy there who's next to him, so it kind of sucked. But you know, wiping out most of them is better than wiping out none of them. I'm doing a lot of that in this game, aren't I? Some or most or none or one, but it's okay. Okay, now I got to come around for my Drakhun, who is now going to be right behind his caster. Now his caster has a choice of either moving forward or backing up and trying to deal with the Drakhun. I'm hoping that he backs him up and deals with the Drakhun. That way he gets him, pulls him out of the battle a little bit, giving me some more, another option, or another turn at least, to try to whittle down the infantry that just keeps filling the zone. The Greylord Ternions, they activate. They advance, so that way, you know, they can swing or do magic. And the one swings on the standard bearer for the Errants and misses, which kind of sucks because I was hoping to use the battle wizard, but it doesn't go off. But he does. The other guy does spray, killing off one of the knights, and then the other one ends up spraying the Seneschal that's on the end, giving him some points of damage, not making him too terribly happy. Now the Shocktroopers are going to activate. I do have 2 that were knocked down. So the first one, the one towards the top of the screen, he is going to forfeit his movement to gain an action. The one I just moved didn't have any negative modifiers to him, so he advanced. The other one forfeited its action for movement, and they advanced, did shield wall, and were able to do some damage. Now the Koldun Lord, he activates, he advances, and because I really want Gravus to be softened up, he does his spray, he hits, doesn't do too much damage, just a little bit, but nothing much. Once again, like I said, it's all about softening him up. But, so now if that's done, I think I'm looking, the way I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the lane, and it looks like I should be able to get the Behemoth in the lane with charging the Gravus. So I activate Karchev, he pops feet, he spends 3 to do Unearthly Rage, and now I gotta figure out, where do I advance him to where the Judicator isn't going to eat him for breakfast, and where he's not in the way of the Behemoth as the Behemoth goes to move forward. I do spend my last point of focus, so I am down to 0 focus to boost the fissure shot on the Seneschal, and I'm thinking I hit, but I didn't do any damage, and I'm thinking I got him knocked down, but unfortunately Gravus is still alive, and Gravus says, no, you're immune to knockdown. So now I'm going to attempt to try to kill Gravus, and like I said earlier, this is where I forget how Dragoons work. So I go in, because of Unearthly Rage, it's boosted to hit, it's armor piercing, so it's going to do some serious damage. I end up rolling out, and of course when he replaces him with a smaller base, he moves him to the point to where I cannot swing on him. Because if I could swing on him, I would have finished him off. But he played smart, put him out of my reach, and I'm just sitting, the Behemoth is sitting on focus. Can't do anything. But I can end up, I can still shoot with my bombard cannons, because it's the Behemoth, that's what he does. So I try to shoot the one guy, and I end up scattering it over to nowhere land. I take the second one. It also misses. Oh no, it hits. I'm sorry, it hits. And then does a couple points of damage. And rough turn, but I was able to finish him off because there was nothing else that I could swing on, kill, or anything else, so he couldn't heal a point.
So once again, he's proving to be very annoyingly adept at killing my Seneschals with the final attack. And it's not like he knows what they do. I mean, it's not like I took one of his in order to fill out all 3 for my army. That certainly never happened. So, as it's looking, I still have his one heavy that's very damaged, and I'm going to want to kill him this turn. And then we have Behemoth. And then I feel like if I can take those guys out of the game, he's going to be left with Karchev and a Devastator. The Devastator is only POW 16s, so it's going to be not a huge threat to an Armor 21 Judicator, and that just leaves Karchev with Unearthly Rage. And the hope is that by the time he gets through all of that, all of those focus to cast a spell and then do all the attacks, he won't have enough attacks to do enough damage to actually hurt Judicator enough. But at this point, I feel like, I'm doing reasonably well on attrition. I've traded maybe 2/3 to 1/2 of my Knight's Exemplar for the opportunity to take out 2 of his heavies and most of his heavy infantry, which I think, is a relatively good trade-off. Those magical sprays from the Greylord, however, are just killing me. Absolutely killing me. And it drives me nuts with Khador because they have the Winter Guard sprays, they have the Outrider sprays, and then they have these solo sprays. And Legion as well. Just drives me insane. So, what we are going to do is, since E-Kreoss does have that armor-piercing attack, we're going to kind of save him for last. And we're also going to need to be very careful to watch out for that Drakhun, who's getting knocked over by my fist right now, who's over on my side of the table, and that's what he gets for being on my side of the table, to be totally honest. So we're just going to make sure we have a couple guys in between him and E-Kreoss to not only block a charge lane, but you have to be aware to block the impact attack as well, to prevent him from getting there. So just checking to see if he gets a good charge off. I don't remember if it looks like I did get the full 3 inches. That's just an errant blocking up and jamming some more of his medium infantry there. So over here we have Judicator. He got loaded up with focus and he's attempting to charge Karchev. I never really expected him to actually kill Karchev at Mat 6, POW 20, but I did expect him to scare the crap out of him a lot. Instead, I kind of eyeballed the distance with my control area. Instead of making an awesome charge, he fails horribly. So now that mistake is on the internet for everybody to see and enjoy. It's absolutely wonderful and completely embarrassing. But we did finally manage to get Judicator into the zone where he is going to be an Armor 21 giant pain in the butt to remove. So putting Knight Exemplar into the jack that explodes, whatever it's called. And then you also want to be kind of careful with the cavalry guy over there in the back because he has counter charge. So you can't jam those charge lanes too good, or else he'll get through. But one fantastic damage roll later, that warjack is wrecked, and that's one heavy down, one behemoth to go. So just working on some order of activation issues here. You absolutely want to get those full 3-inch charges with the knights. So I'm trying to be very careful with interweaving them in their charge lanes, so that way I can get as many on him, and then as many charge bonuses as I can. And also still leaving that little open area if E-Kreoss needs to go in there with his armor-piercing attack to just kind of finish the deal off. So we've got Gravus, he's charging his 3 inches using the full extent of his reach. And he's just going to go bananas. Boosting to hit the damage rolls, or boosting the damage rolls, and trying to land some points onto Behemoth there. And he actually does a fair amount. I think does like 8 damage on the second roll. It's fantastic. So again, just measuring that 3 inches, making sure that these are all legal charges. It always pays off to be, as precise as possible and honest as possible with your opponent. And again, just banging on Behemoth. I think my dice are doing incredibly hot things at the moment. Just saw a bunch of 3s rolled there. So then we got one knight charging Behemoth, and one knight, what we're being precise here is he's charging through the wreckage at the Greylord solo, and we just want to make sure that we're getting the appropriate distance for, he's losing half his speed going through that wreckage. So just measuring it out nice and careful, see how much he has left. And he actually successfully makes a charge. Behemoth, I believe we finally get a kapow roll. And do a good chunk, and we actually managed to hit the solo and take his annoying butt out of the game as well. So unfortunately we didn't really do enough to Behemoth, so E-Kreoss has to actually go in and take care of it himself. Again, he's got an armor piercing attack, he's going to be a dice plus 4, so he should hopefully just do a ridiculous amount of damage to him. And he does, and I believe he actually scraps Behemoth in one shot. So we'll see if we can survive this next turn, but otherwise I think we have the attrition game at least relatively well in hand.
Okay, he did not move the way I was hoping he would with his caster. But with any luck, I should be able to with him bringing his caster in, even with camping, I'm hoping I can do enough. So I'm pretty much just going to sit on all my focus and hope that my ability to not take a 6th focus and gaining Pathfinder and plus 2 inches will get me into reach range with his caster. POW 19 is a very good ability. But first of all, we're going to start with the Greylord Ternions. They're going to try to do some sprays, do some softening up, get some models out of my way, because I do need some of his models to die and get out of my way, so that way I can go ahead and clear a lane for my caster to go through. I can get there where I'm at, but unfortunately, it'd be really close. And I would only be getting the one attack, the one reach, my one reach attack. I would not be able to get my fist attack in there. which is what I'm hoping, you know, I can be able to get. So these Greylord Ternions are doing whatever work they can to clear that zone, to clear the lane. Clear the lane so I can get my caster to his caster. The last one is going to, because there's nothing else in his range, so he's going to try to shoot the Seneschal, and of course completely misses the Seneschal, but it's okay because I end up shooting and hitting the knight that's in my way. And the idea here is, if I fail epically on what I'm about to do, I can move over with the Shocktroopers to hopefully try to kill off the Errant and the Knight Seneschal, and then maybe do a point or two on the Judicator. Now the Demolition's moving out of the way, because, well, it just needs to be out of my way because it was blocking my line. But you can't quite see that because the Judicator is blocking it. So now it's the last turn, so it just does its shots. It actually has guns. I opened it up. I tried shooting with it. It is an AoE, so it deviates, but it only hits the caster. And at a POW 8, when he's sitting at like arm 20 or something ridiculous, it makes it really hard to do much. So I activate my caster. He does Unearthly Rage. He does not take the extra point of focus. He then charges the caster, and Unearthly Rage allows me to have boosted to hit and damage rolls. So I'm able to hit. I'm able to do some damage. Not one-shot him or anything, but do some damage. Then my fist. My fist actually does more damage than my reach weapon, and then I hit with my other weapon. I buy an attack, and I'm able to finish off the caster.